Tonight, we're looking at how viruses spread and why the population has been told to stay at home. A couple of weeks ago, before the lockdown, I visited a London office to see why we are being encouraged to avoid the workplace. We've already seen how viruses can be transmitted around the home, but our workplaces are potentially a much bigger hazard. Everything from coffee cups to keyboards can harbour infection. One scientific study found sharing an office with someone with a respiratory disease, like coronavirus, could carry a 5-fold risk of contracting a similar illness. I've asked Operations Manager Bianca to help me conduct a test using ultraviolet gel to mimic a virus. Now, you've been on a sneaky little mission, haven't you? So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I had this gel and I rubbed it on my hands as you do with moisturizer, and then I put it on the door handles of the main door of the building, on the lift button, and on the kettle as well.
Yeah, and the idea behind that was that we would see other people coming in and out of the workspace and moving around the office. We would see how that contaminates. This is not a scientific experiment, but should illustrate how UV dye, representing the virus, is spread by people around the office. Since the outbreak began, the cleaning regime in this office has been stepped up significantly, using alcohol-based products. But let's see if we can detect any traces of our mock virus. Oh, you can see a load of it on the handle of the kettle. Gosh, look, you've got 2 big handprints there, right on the worktop. And another one there. Viruses are tiny. They range from about 20 to 400 nanometers in diameter, and millions can fit on the head of a pin. Coronavirus enters our bodies through the nose, eyes or mouth. So things like shared mugs need to be thoroughly cleaned. Look at that. Along the rim where you would, you put that cup to your mouth then. It's not just high-traffic communal areas that could be harbouring a virus. Some viruses can survive on surfaces, such as metals and plastics, for over a day, meaning keyboards can be hotspots for transmission. Businessman Danny Wynn's desk was thoroughly cleaned before he started work, but I want to see if he could have contaminated it. Would you say you've been following the advice and disinfecting your worktop and keypad and washing your hands regularly today?
Washing my hands regularly, definitely. Disinfecting my workspace, no.
No.
I haven't.
Let's find out whether Danny managed to escape our mock virus. Now I can see some tracings there of the fluorescent gel. So you've potentially picked that up on the way in or when making a cup of tea, and that's ended up on your keyboard. So the idea is that this could replicate the coronavirus that's been on your hands, and then you're typing away. Yeah. Can I check your hands as well?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Let's have a look. Oh, there's a bit. So actually you've missed a bit there. So this just demonstrates how easy it is, even in a quiet office like it is today, for the virus to potentially spread. This test is a stark illustration of why those that can have been asked to work from home. How long do we think the virus survives on surfaces?
Think of it as everything is contaminated all the time, every time, always. And that way, you will exercise better infection control. In other words, wash your hands, and wash your hands all the time. And don't introduce anything from your hands that have been handling things to your nose, eyes and mouth. And that would be a much better way to operate, rather than to say, oh, it's not on the door handle because I've just cleaned it. The moment you've cleaned it, it can get contaminated again.
Go! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Over the last few weeks, washing our hands more often, for 20 seconds, or as long as it takes to sing happy birthday twice, has been the new mantra.
Happy birthday to you.
Along with the duration, does it matter how we wash our hands? And how effective is hand sanitizer? Microbiologist Dr. Olivia Champion and I have asked the Jackman Overlander family to take part in another simple test.
Okay, so what we're going to do in this experiment is I'm going to take each of you three and I'm going to get you to wash your hands in a different way. One of you is going to decontaminate them with antibacterial gel, one of you is going to wash them with soap and water, and one of you won't wash your hands at all. And then I just want you to do a handprint for me on these agar plates, okay?
An agar plate is a type of petri dish used to culture microorganisms like bacteria. You can't grow a virus on an agar plate, but the amount of bacteria that's produced will give a good indication of how clean the family's hands are. Right, Zeb, so you're up first. Would you like to go and wash your hands? Okay, and who's doing the alcohol gel? Lana?
You're going to get some too.
First up is Dad Ben, who hasn't washed his hands for 2 hours. Next it's Mum Alana, who's used a 70% alcohol sanitizer gel. Finally, 11-year-old Zeb, who's washed his hands for 20 seconds.
Okay, great.
Dr. Champion has taken the plates to the lab to be processed.
These plates out.
After 48 hours, the results are in.
So what we can see first of all here is this is Ben's hand and it's unwashed. So you can see there's loads of growth here.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see where his fingers were. But we can see that, you know, Ben's unwashed hand is covered in bacteria. So here we have Ilana's plate. And we can see with the gel sanitizer that she used that we've really managed to reduce the number of bacteria growing.
Yeah, that's a massive improvement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Having said that, there are still a few blobs there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work 100% effectively.
No, so it hasn't removed 100% of the bacteria. So it might be that she hasn't, you know, if when she was applying the gel, maybe she missed a few bits, or maybe she didn't kind of get it under her nails, that sort of thing, as she pushed her hand down. So, you know, that is quite important. Okay, so the next plate that we have is an interesting one. This was Zeb's soap and water washing for 20 seconds.
Right.
And we can see his fingerprints and we can see quite clearly that he hasn't done a particularly good job of washing his hands
there's
there.
still quite a lot of action, microbe action going on there, isn't there? You can see his fingers where they've been and a massive blob which must have been where his palm was.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know if he did it for 20 seconds, but we can certainly still see that there's a lot of bacteria on his hands.
So does this mean that washing hands with soap and water isn't as effective as we thought?
Well, I think it might be more to do with the technique because I have a fourth plate and that is my hands washed for 20 seconds. So I washed my hands for a full 20 seconds and I sang Happy Birthday twice.
Yeah.
And we can see that there is a big reduction in the number of bacteria that have grown when I've washed my hands. But I think that we could say that washing hands for 20 seconds thoroughly is the most effective way at reducing the number of bacteria and microbes on our hands. I think it's really important that we take personal responsibility for trying to reduce transmission and try and protect our vulnerable members of the population. And the ways that we can do that is by washing our hands. I mean, we've been told this over and over, we can wash our hands for 20 seconds and that not only washes the virus away, but it also destroys the virus. And that we think about doing that before we eat, so before our hands are going to our faces or when we've come in from outside.
Coming up,